Hodge passed every test we gave him. He's big, he's fast, he obeys orders, he's a soldier.
He's a bully.
You don't win wars with niceness, Doctor.
John Walker, first person in American history to receive 3 Medals of Honor, ran RS-1 missions in counterterrorism and hostage rescue. The government did a study of your body at MIT, and you tested off the charts in every measurable category.
You know, when I was a kid, I was actually a Captain America fan. He made me believe that there was decent people in this world. I didn't think there could be another Captain America until I met you.
This is why you were chosen. Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
I agree with your fight. I just can't get with the way you're fighting it.
Before we get into Walker's rampage, there's one thing left that I want to examine, the theme of global identity that permeates through the entire show, because the entire setting is set around the process of deglobalization after the blip.
Basically just managing resources for the refugees who were displaced by the return.
Sam's finances are directly messed up due to the tighter policies.
Sure, but these days, with everyone just showing up, well, things tighten up.
The antagonist is a movement trying to restore the lost global community, and the new Captain America is a marketing tool used to symbolically reinstate traditional ideas of nationalism.
We need a real person who embodies America's greatest values.
Episode 4 takes this simmering backdrop and puts it right into the forefront. So the purpose of this essay is to examine how globalization as a key concept is entangled in Walker's story and see how they both contribute with the overall ideas of the show. And yes, I'll talk about his trauma in the video too.
We can name some of those Tom Holland classics. Oh yeah, they aren't any. What is it? The Seaman Men? What is that? What is?
You wish you were in that movie.
Alright, what is globalization? It's pretty important, kids. Anthony Giddens' definition is one of the most popular, and I'm sure I've used it a couple of times before. Globalization is the intensification of worldwide social relations which link distant localities in such a way that local happenings are shaped by events occurring many miles away and vice versa. An example can be this very video. I'm a British person talking about an American show with a predominantly American audience on an American online platform, or the fact that most British food is imported. Modern developed countries are not self-sufficient, they are dependent on international flow. Subsequently, Zygmunt Bauman argued that globalization produces 2 types of global classes of people: globals, which are people without any commitments to a particular territory, and locals, who are merely passive objects of globalization trends because they're bounded to a place. Keep all of this in mind because these social concerns permeate through this episode and it shapes the ideologies of the 2 sides. So, yeah. Episode 4 opened 6 years ago with Bucky cleansed of his programming with Io, while in the present she's on the other side filled with vengeance and a cold disposition, ironically similar to Bucky at the start of his journey.
I'm grateful for everything you and Sherry
Zemo
have done.
murdered our King T'Chaka at the UN.
Which on one hand shows that they're kind of like kindred spirits, and on the other hand it also shows that Sam has been a pretty good influence on Bucky, because he's developed better people skills. He then returns with the news, and we get another argument of the 3, where Zemo tries to bond with Bucky now that he's defended him, but Sam recognizes his manipulative words and puts a stop to it.
It was sweet of you to defend me at least.
Hey, you shut it. No one's defending you.
Bucky also does the same with Sam when Zemo starts deepening his anti-superhero rhetoric in Sam's mind.
Desire to become a superhuman cannot be separated from supremacist ideals. Anyone with that serum is inherently on that path.
Maybe you're wrong, Zemo. The serum never corrupted Steve.
Touché. But there has never been another Steve Rogers, has there?
So despite the rivalry, they're making each other better. unconsciously. However, the broader conflict still escalates. The Flag Smashers' murderous activities has caused the Global Reparation Council to fast-track their rebordering efforts.
The act of violence has also brought attention and followers to the Flag Smasher cause.
Therefore, Carly's message of one world, one people has slowly twisted from a mission of inclusion to one of isolation and violence. So the gang hastens. Sam then finds one of her mates who differentiates himself as a displaced person, not a refugee.
We're not refugees, for we have nothing to seek refuge from. We're internationally displaced persons.
Which Sam immediately relates with.
I know what happens when people say they're going to help out. Nothing. The Global Repatriation Council promised to send more teachers, supplies. That was 6 months ago.
Zemo has slightly better luck getting information as he uses his fatherly experiences to connect with kids. Afterwards, Sam continues to empathize with Carly and gets Sharon's cooperation. She's clearly more inspired by him. Subsequently, the show begins to highlight the similarities between Carly and Sam, to the extent that her mate tries to treat her with the same symbolic value as Captain America.
I didn't think there could be another Captain America until I met you.
She kind of rebukes this by highlighting the selective nature of the shield and its unfairness. So not only is she like Sam, but he's also like her.
That shield is a monument to a bygone era. A reminder of all the people history just left out.
Maybe I shouldn't have put it in a museum. Maybe I should have destroyed it.
If anything, that shield should be destroyed.
Moving on, Walker catches up with Sam's gang, and after pushing for violence, he barely cooperates with Sam's peaceful strategy, where he uses his counseling skills to talk to Carly.
I used to counsel soldiers dealing with trauma, okay? This is right in my wheelhouse.
At a funeral, she has a speech for her friend, depicting her mate as an important mother figure to the community and a source of strong values that she inherited.
Like a lot of you here, Mama Donya saved me.
Which draws a strong symmetry with Sam's speech in episode 1. They're both very much natural paragons that are shaped by the positive legacy and ideals from someone else long from the past. As a result, when they interact, they actually get along. She defends herself on a collective level while he confronts her on an individual one, peacefully.
People all around the world need me, millions of them.
Right, I can't speak for millions, but I understand you.
Thus, a bridge is formed despite their differences.
What if I'm making the world a better place?
It's not a better place if you're killing people, it's just different.
You're either brilliant or just hopelessly optimistic.
Sam opens up her mind with Zemo's criticisms and mentors her with reconciling with her actions by showing how her house of cards is not what she thinks it is, if we're going by my stupid metaphor again. Wow. But then Walker ruins everything, and after everything falls apart, Zemo destroys all the serum. However, John sneakily takes one, so Walker is pretty much everything Zemo fears. Society worships him as a symbol, forgetting his flaws, but he's still ultimately a dude attracted to power, with very little moral awareness of his actions.
This is all really easy for you, isn't it? All that serum running through your veins.
Sam and Zemo talk in the aftermath, and Helmut is actually incredibly surprised by Sam's disinterest in power, which ironically shows why he deserves it.
That's impressive.
But Zemo still tries to steer Sam into a more partisan position, but is ultimately outwitted by his own inconsistencies.
Super soldiers cannot be allowed to exist.
Isn't that how gods talk? And if that's how you feel, what about Bucky?
The Dora Milaje then interrupts a heated argument between Sam and Walker, and initially John doesn't take them very seriously due to border laws.
The Dora Milaje don't have jurisdiction here.
The Dora Milaje have jurisdiction wherever the Dora Milaje find themselves to be.
However, they reject his authority and everyone fights, allowing Zemo to escape. Well done, everyone. As a result, we're shown that even outside of the Flag Smashers, there's a lack of relevance with what the shield means. Therefore, Walker can't coast on its meaning anymore.
They weren't even super soldier.
Subsequently, Walker's self-esteem begins to fall even more. He means well, has guts, is respectful to Steve's legacy, but is ultimately also impatient, insecure, and doesn't have tactical instincts or the ability to think beyond the systems that approve of him. His existential crisis is then underlined when he wrestles with his mate about the ethics of taking the serum.
Power just makes a person more of themselves, right?
The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse.
And me? You already have 3 medals of honor. You consistently make the right decisions in the heat of battle.
3 badges of excellence to make sure I never forget the worst day of my life. We both know that the things that we had to do in Afghanistan to be awarded those medals felt a long way from being right.
But there's still a disconnect in Walker's identity for the reason that there's a gap between his conscience and his treatment that has messed up his moral compass. Unlike Steve, he hasn't decoupled himself from the American establishment, so he depends on them entirely to understand himself.
I just want to do the job.
This is the job, John.
On the other end, Carly calls Sam's sister. They bond, but there's some blackmailing too.
That's how we gonna play this?
Sam, I would never hurt her. I just wanted to understand you better.
Sam and Carly meet up, and the show dodges the bullet with not making her an annoying "everyone is my enemy" type.
I don't want to hurt you.
The meeting abruptly ends as Walker's ambushed by the Flag Smashers and seemingly takes the serum off screen. Walker's mate is killed by Carly and he loses it, murdering her mate too. Therefore, an unstoppable cycle of violence is unleashed here, which means next episode, well, I guess I'll be looking at more trauma, guys. Better start the reading now. I thought this episode was really good. Fucking idiot, Leo. It basically has two functional purposes. First, it establishes Sam as a powerful symbol of reform, rivaling Carly's symbol of revolution. And second, it shows the decline of the two competing sides. Carly's murder hung over the start of the episode, and it ends with Walker also killing a dude. They both at some point even say,
"Don't patronize me."
Don't condescend to me, I'm not a child.
As a result, if episode 2 was about Walker reinstating an outdated narrative, and episode 3 was about Zemo's warning of worshipping individuals, then episode 4 is about marrying these two focuses with Carly. Her speech at the funeral was a narrative emphasizing how everyone is not alone because they're members of a global community.
They imposed struggle and hardship on us, then labelled us as criminals for pushing back. But the struggle is what brings us all together.
After the serum is destroyed, she reflects upon this once again.
To find people I would have never met. People that I would have been taught to hate if I lived somewhere else.
And proceeds to solve her problems by killing Walker.
And then we kill Captain America.
So ironically, she ideologically leans closer with Zemo while also providing a symmetry with Walker. Speaking of Walker, Walker exists on two levels. Thematically, he approximates Steve's values as he classes as a local, and on a character level, loyalty defines him.
Your partner needs backup in there. Do you really want his blood on your hands?
His mate Hoskins is the only thing that gives him a sense of continuity, even more so than his duty, which is also very similar to Steve. However, unlike him, Walker is obsessed with strength and power because he never grew up weak. Therefore, his trauma, and I'll be more detailed in another essay, largely stems from having his self-identity being contradicted, from people not taking him seriously to being physically outmatched. As a result, he's kind of literally like an anti-Steve, because his ideal qualities is his weakness. So when Walker lost his self-respect, it handicapped him from being able to absorb new experiences. The story of his life is no longer convincing. He's not what he believes himself to be or what other people think he is. His resilience and ability to throw away bad cards are gone. In conclusion, there's an irony to the broader conflict presented here, where trying to hold on to tradition in a globalized world doesn't give you an identity but becomes a search for one, while moving forward and embracing global identity is to know who you are. So we'll have to see how Sam reconciles with this when he becomes Captain America.
For 5 years, people have been welcomed into countries that have kept them out using barbed wire. There were houses and jobs. Folks were happy to have people around to help them rebuild. It wasn't just one community coming together, it was the entire world coming together. And then boom, just like that, it goes right back to the way it used to be. To them, at least Carly's doing something.
Also, Taiwan #1.
Serum never corrupted Steve.
Touché. But there has never been another Steve Rogers, has there?
Look at that. He's making me cry.